Hi, Dr. Collins here again, talking about TB4 Frag. It's a favorite peptide of mine. It's something that you can get now orally. And if you want to call our office, we can tell you how to get that from a reputable pharmacy that actually is licensed to distribute this product for humans, as opposed to a lot of these injectable forms, which are not for humans. Specifically, they say research only. So this is a workaround. They do say that perhaps the oral version of this peptide has not been as studied, but it's not dangerous, very, very, very safe. And taking it orally, they do put some ingredients and some activators in the capsule to make it go through the lining of your cheek and gum better than if you had to dissolve it. So subcutaneous is an available form, which is getting some good results. So subcutaneous form of TB4 Frag is available for you, and you don't even have to have a prescription for it. So the good news is this: you can get pure pharmaceutical grade from a compound pharmacist without having to go through a doctor. And if you want to call us and find out who that is, we can give you that information. But take care. And whenever you do peptides and that kind of thing, use a doctor that knows what they're doing, and have a team of people that help you with your biohacking. So, take care. Let the buyer beware. But in this case, you can get it that it's FDA approved for human use because it's not injectable, and it's made by a pharmacy for humans. So back to the idea about what's so great about this smaller little peptide that's a part of a bigger thymus amino acid, 43 amino acid peptide, is that it's easier to absorb, easier to take in than this larger protein that people have been using for years. But the exciting thing is there's some applications for hair follicle activation. I think that is going to show up in the med spa, or probably has already, with dermal creams and that sort of thing, and getting hair going in both the androgenic patterns and just regular stress patterns. So both different kinds of hair loss have been seen to be better assisted with this Thymosin Beta 4 Frag in the formulas, the dermatological applications. So hair loss. I mentioned scar, but they mentioned also cornea. There's something about the epithelial lining of the cornea that is re-stimulated. So dry eyes are very much helped by Thymosin Beta 4 Frag. And we just have to figure out how to get a compound pharmacist to make it for ocular use, in drops, and that's been worked out. That would be a prescription. So if you want to know about who can make that for you, we could probably figure that out. 858-333-5196 is my office number. And I'm Dr. Collins, by the way. So if you get this, and it's part 3 or so of me talking about Thymosin Beta 4 Frag, because it's a pretty amazing and safe form of a peptide, a lot of interesting clinical trials behind it. And it's new to the market as far as a oral medicine, because all of this information on peptides has been kind of sub rosa, or in the gym culture, people doing it with subcutaneous administration. So there are some problems with that, including you can't get these peptides that are FDA approved because they're made in labs that aren't FDA approved for IV or intramuscular use or subcutaneous use. So it's less about it being dangerous and more about it's not being approved from the facilities that are making it. So a lot of times people are doing peptides and they all say for research, wink, wink. So that's out there. That's kind of what's the nature of the peptide world is. They're all great, but you have to know what the source is. And, the nice thing about what I'm talking about here is that you can get a hold of this particular peptide in oral form, and they actually can make it more absorbable than having to swallow it. So you do it sublingually. So that's an interesting mode of dispensing and accessing this information. So I mentioned about immune identity and self-recognition. So one of the things about this thymus medicine in general, I remember using neonatal thymus, freeze-dried neonatal thymus from an animal, and that was phenomenal for anything having to do with children and their lymph nodes and adenoids, and chronically sick kids. You get them some of this prenatal thymus gland from a sheep or something like that, European derived, and there were dramatic results for their immune system. So thymus goes way back, using it as an organ for immune system. And when we used to do animal glands in the dried form, we could get a hold of thymus. You still can, and it's pretty good for children to suck on the lozenge of the thymus glandular. But this is more specific because it's just a fragment of one of the enzymes or peptides in the thymus gland that's coming out of the thymus gland. So they figured out the active form of the last part of that. But when we're talking about self-awareness, immunomodulation, all these autoimmune diseases, we have to get back to like, how does the body know what's self and what's non-self? And that's the package that this is all wrapped around is self versus non-self. And I would think of a million different autoimmune patients that are waiting to have some way to tell their body to stop attacking itself. So this is a safe and effective way to get your thymus gland to start tick-tocking back and forth and telling your cells to not be too hot or too cold, but just right. So anti-inflammatory, tissue regeneration. We've got tremendous safety profiles in this particular peptide. You don't need to do too much. If you do it subcutaneously a couple times a week, 1 or 2 milligrams per shot. And I mentioned neuroprotective, so there's some interesting information about people trying to ward off things like multiple sclerosis and different sort of neurodegenerative diseases. So I think this also gets up into the neuroprotection and cognition and helping people not have these inflammatory diseases and these neurodegenerative diseases as they get older. So lots of safety profile. Again, ask your doctor. This isn't medical advice without knowing you, but this is something worth looking into and asking about. And of all the safety and all the issues around peptides, this is the one that's been used the most. They put it in what they call a Wolverine stack. Maybe that's because Hugh Jackman used it for the movie Wolverine. I don't know. But they use it with BPC 157. And those two are probably the most commonly used peptides for lots of reasons. They overlap nicely with each other, very good safety profile. And again, it's getting to be possible to have these things done orally. There's some question about whether they're absorbed or not. And maybe there's some in between. I look forward to people getting creams and lotions and transdermal and all that kind of thing. We'll see what happens. So for now, goodbye. This is Dr. Collins talking about peptides and my favorite one, Thymosin Beta for Fragment. Take care. Bye-bye.